Welcome, and bienvenidos to Tech and Tequila, the podcast where tech innovation meets life's boldest adventures. I'm your host, Kat Lopez-Shelby, your go-to techie chica, trusted tech advisor, and digital nomad, and of course, tequila enthusiast. So whether you're here for the latest in tech trends, insights from industry leaders, or just a good story with a splash of tequila, you are in the right place. Because each week we explore game-changing strategies, inspiring journeys, and a little tech magic to help entrepreneurs, creators, and curious minds thrive. And of course, we pair it all with a sip of something special because life is too short not to celebrate every single win. So grab your glass, power up, and join the conversation. This is Tech and Tequila, where the future tech meets the spirit of adventure. Salud. So, of course, before we dive in, let's take a quick break for one of our sponsors. So I, as a digital nomad, or like I like to say, local voyager, could not be more excited about this. And that is hashtag your digital bliss. So with everything going on, there's no better time to start your journey to freedom as a digital nomad. And that's why myself and Dr. Jenna W. Clack created hashtag your digital bliss. This is a step-by-step course designed to help you navigate tech, security, and strategy for your remote lifestyle. And of course, inside this course, you'll find the ultimate guide to setting up your tech stack, cybersecurity strategies to protect your business on the go, smart budgeting hacks for travel-friendly accommodations. Let me tell you, Dr. Jenna has all the tips and tricks about that. And since she is a world wanderer, she gets them all set for you. And of course, one of the best things that I think is a huge bonus is the digital nomad packing list and travel planner. So right now we're still under one of our specials for Tech and Tequila, and that is you can enroll today for $222. And if you use the code Tech and Tequila, you'll save 20%. But don't wait, because the price is going to go up after Cinco de Mayo. And don't forget, follow at your.digital.bliss on Instagram. And of course, enroll today to start your journey. So over the last couple episodes, we have done some highlights for Dialpad and Broad Voice. And today I wanted to talk about Weave. Because if you haven't ever heard of Weave, Weave is the future of business communication, especially if you are a dental, medical, or some type of veterinarian office. And why do I say that? So let's talk about how they can level up your business. Weave is an all-in-one AI communication platform that simplifies your customer interactions. Imagine having your calls, texts, online scheduling, reminders, and even payments all in one place. No more juggling multiple apps. So some of the best features about this, of course, is AI-powered missed call follow-ups via text message. I don't know about you, but have you ever been like, I didn't remember that doctor's appointment? This takes care of everything from both sides, for the patient as well as for your office. Effortless review and collection and calendar automation. Flexible payment options, including tap to pay, text to pay, and of course, different versions of buy now, pay later as well. So whether you're dental, medical, or a veterinarian office, Weave helps you streamline operations and keep your clients engaged or your patients engaged. And whether they're your furry patients or real life patients, I say real life, human patients, keeping them engaged. And we all know, like myself, if you have a fur baby, they're very important in this world. So if you want to see Weave in action, head over to getweave.com or visit Shelby TS and book a demo today. All right. First and foremost, I am super excited because today's episode has two special things. One, we have the Fairy Tech Godmother on here, Miss Cheri Dolan. So welcome, Cheri.
Thank you, Kat. I'm always happy to be here with you.
Yes. And of course, I want to let you guys know, first off, Cheri has been on a couple of times, and I think we're at liberty now to say the exciting news. I mean, you posted on LinkedIn, so I feel like we can say it here. But Cheri has now joined the team of Ixidium.
Yes, that's correct. I will be joining. Well, I've already joined the team. I officially start at the end of the month, and I am so pumped. I am going to be your MSP account executive for the Tola region.
Yes. And I'm sure everybody knows what TOLA is, but in case you don't, that's Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Arkansas.
Correct.
Cool. Well, I'm super pumped about that, Cheri, but this would not be Tech and Tequila or today's Tech and Tasting without us doing a little bit of a tasting and kind of in honor of you. And after last week, I thought we would give it a try and try a different drink, another non-alcoholic beverage. So I have Moment here, right here.
Nice.
This is, I'm going to be very transparent. I don't care about the zero sugar. It has zero sugar though, in case that's a big thing for you, but it is a botanical soda. And I grabbed Moment because I thought this is super cool because it's another adaptogen drink. And they really point out that for Moment's founder, this is not just like about the drink. It's about kind of a lifestyle choice. And it's crafted with adaptogens. And for those who can make fun of me as you want, no nootropics, the alcohol-free beverage that helps boost focus and relaxation without caffeine, sugar, or artificial junk. It has L-theanine in it, which promotes mental clarity. Ashwagandha helps reduce stress. Tulsi, also known as holy basil, and supports calm and balance. Now, I personally like something a little spicy, so I am trying the mango chili. And this one actually also has apple cider vinegar in it, so
Nice.
It'll help with a little, I would say, de-bloating, so to speak. But let's see what it tastes like.
You can taste it for the both of us.
Yes, I will taste it for the both of us. I'm super pumped about it. Ooh.
Oh, is it spicier than you thought?
No, it's not. It's really only at the very tail end. And I want to be very transparent because my favorite snack is tahini coated gummy bears. I could handle it being just a little bit spicier, but I could see where you might get some chamoy, some tahini, and add it to the rim. But it is very I always say refreshing, but with the bubbles and the tropicalness, it kind of gives a little bit of a citrusy brightness, I would say.
So it would be safe to say it has some pizzazz.
That is absolutely right. I would say pizzazz. That is a great way to put it. It would definitely have some pizzazz. So they have several different flavors. I would definitely give them a try. You can always find them at drinkmoment.com or grab one from your favorite wellness store. I picked these up from Sprouts and they had them on sale. So here's to that. Yeah.
I'll have to try those out this weekend.
They're really good. I really like them. I like them. And of course, I like Ken Euphorics.
You'll have to send me that one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to try them out. So I'm currently fasting alcohol. So no tequila until after I get back from Colombia.
Yes. And hence that was the secondary reason why I thought, well, let's get on this call today, or I say call, podcast, and record, and let's make sure that we have a different option. So here we go. It's another great option, some innovation. And, I know you, Cheri, and obviously this is the main event of Tech and Tequila, but not everybody knows you, the most amazing tech fairy godmother. So can you give us a little background of what you've done, your experience, just for the listeners so they can get to know you a little bit better?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I originated as a appointment setter for a startup company and quickly learned very, very fast that CIOs and C-suites that operate in the IT space do not listen to somebody who has no idea what they're talking about. So I started just taking every single opportunity and every single webinar to educate myself on all the different realms of technology that were offered out there. And then developed my portfolio and then, became a salesperson, was a vice worked my way up to vice president of sales and operations. And then I've kind of jumped around a little bit because not too much, obviously, but a little bit here and there just to add different areas to my resume, so to speak. And trying out different positions to see which one was really best suited and where I could not only benefit from the company and the organization, but also I could benefit that organization.
I love it. I love when you talk about starting as more like what I would call like an appointment setter, a business development rep, because even if you're doing that, you kind of still have to have a base knowledge of what you're talking about. Because like you said,
they will hang up on you.
I was going to say, anybody in the C-suite doesn't want to talk to somebody that's like, if they were to say, what's an SD-WAN? And you're like, I don't know, SD-WAN. Like, you need to be able to say, this is what it is, and this is why you should talk to us. So that's great. Absolutely. And with the breadth of knowledge, I mean, I want to talk about some of the trends that we're seeing. And of course, with you starting at, and I'm going to have to think about it, Exidium.
Yes.
What do you see are some of the biggest cybersecurity risks right now that kind of get overlooked sometimes?
I wouldn't say necessarily that it's a risk. I think that businesses are overlooking cybersecurity in general, right? They're not putting enough emphasis on it. And I don't think that they're budgeting enough for the technology that's really necessary in the space. They feel like they have just enough, or they have enough to meet the needs of, the cybersecurity insurance. And that's not necessarily the best form of action for a business. Making sure that you mind your P's and Q's and thoroughly test your different endpoints is actually more important than necessarily, signing a number to it.
Well, I think you kind of hit, I'm telling you, if you made a drinking game out of how many times I say nail the coffin close or hit the nail on the head during every episode, but I think you hit that because I think a lot of times people see cybersecurity as, well, that happens to La Otra or other people, whereas, it's really a necessary expense, especially for small and medium-sized businesses.
Absolutely.
What is your recommendation, or how do you think any type of business owner, C-suite or anything should shift their mindset when they think of like cybersecurity or their tech spend in general?
I think a lot of companies see it as a scary thing. And by utilizing a company like Exidium, we can educate those clients in a way that is going to be unique to each individual business. And I think that that's what's so nice is there is some transparency with how you are going to individualize cybersecurity in each individual company. So that's really important. I think that you can't really say specifically what each company needs. It's not a box, that I can just set up at every different business out there. Everybody's going to have different needs. And I think that it really needs to be a more individualized experience across the board. And you have to be able to really sit down with the client and find out what their expectations are. And then, go into the systems and really get granular.
No, I couldn't agree more. I think that it's really important to take each individual customer. Like, we all know that certain verticals have certain regulations and compliance requirements, but it's really, you need to understand each client, what they do, how their business runs, so that you can fully understand, obviously, I would say where the blind spots are, or where the spots within the organization are of concern.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that once you're able to do that, and the customer, the client becomes very comfortable with what they have, then it becomes a growth. It's, oh, my business is growing. It's safe, secure, because I know I have somebody backing me up and taking care of me. And then it allows for them to be able to grow their business and know that they have that flexibility within their organization. It also gives them some, IT professionals in general are so busy with everything, right? So when you bring on a company that is able to support you in that kind of manner and manage things, I think that that's really important to IT professionals, to be really honest. They're being pulled in so many different directions. And if companies recognize that, it also can help with some overhead costs, because maybe deploying some of these systems can not only free up their IT people to focus on the internal business processes, but it can also eliminate maybe some positions that aren't really necessity.
I think it's funny well, not funny, but maybe it's interesting when you say that, because a lot of people fear with the onset of AI is like, their jobs going away. But I think really what we've seen with AI and with any type of like even bringing in like a third party MSP or a third party company to help you with your tech stack, with your cybersecurity, is kind of what you said, that it frees up, especially for a understaffed, or well, I would say understaffed and overworked IT department that is trying to be like, we're getting 27,000, password resets. I mean, that might be an exaggeration, but I mean, I myself can talk about like how many times I have to change my passwords, because I mean, it is crazy.
Completely agree.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So what do you see are some of the biggest key differences when you're working with, let's say, a small and medium-sized customer versus more like an enterprise customer? What are they choosing to implement, or maybe what are they putting off, or, kind of, do you see any differences?
I think that at the end of the day, the want and ask is the same. But again, it's going to be a more individualized process on, how many people do you have in your organization watching different things? In an enterprise situation, you may have somebody who's dedicated to your cybersecurity suite. In a small to medium-sized business, you might just have an IT professional that's responsible for everything. So in those instances, I think it's important, to, again, get really familiar with the organization as a whole and see what needs to happen, with an enterprise suite. If you have somebody who is watching your cybersecurity and your endpoints and everything else, you might not need as much management, or you might elect to have an extra set of eyes to back it up. Whereas with a small to medium-sized business that maybe only has one IT professional or no IT professionals, right? They definitely are going to want that extra level of management. So, I mean, let's be realistic, right? Small to medium-sized businesses, sometimes they don't even have an IT professional, and you have an owner who's juggling, some of these requirements for cybersecurity insurance.
No, I think that's such a good point, because I think people would be surprised at the number of like small to medium sized businesses that don't necessarily have like a dedicated person on their IT staff. They have, it's an office manager, or it's, the person that is the most tech savvy within, the organization that kind of gets everything latched on. And I'm sure yourself, and I see this when I consult with customers, is, a lot of them have third-party MSPs that they work with, or a third-party company. And I think that when we're looking at, their cybersecurity needs, right? Everybody would love to have all the cybersecurity in the world. We'd love to have, I like to call it the champagne wishes of, cybersecurity. What do you think kind of are the top 3 cybersecurity, I would say, needs or items that no matter what size business you have, you need to make sure that you put in that stack, that you have prepared, taken care of?
So I think that there's really only one number one need at the end of the day. Okay. And that's being educated and actually doing some legwork, getting involved with a company that's able to support you. And I say that because a lot of times clients don't know where to look, and then when they don't look, they stop looking, and they don't rely on their trusted advisors. They don't. And that's a thing too. A lot of companies will have a trusted advisor, but they don't know to ask that trusted advisor if they know anything about cybersecurity. They think that they're there, that they are just there to help with maybe their DIA or their voice over IP systems, not necessarily that they know the cloud, that they know cybersecurity, and that they have resources for that. So I think that that is realistically the number one need out there in the space.
No, I would agree. I think that there's a mix of that. And I would add like two other things. Number one, I think that you got to have a plan, because if you don't plan, you plan to fail. So even if you're like, dude, I got like a, let's say a 40 ounce from, the convenience store budget right now, let's talk about what you can do. And I would also say, and I'm sure you can agree with this, is the secondary is, what do you do when something happens? Because you can always be like, this is who you call, this is what you do. And, and I think it goes back to what you said. It's the educating yourself, because even in large organizations, which obviously you and I both know, and any tech professional knows, like, you can do everything in the world. And it's not a question of if, it's a question of when or how, or, whether it's internal, external, whatever. But
or how long has it been there?
That's right. That's the question. If that bad boy is sitting on your network for 365 days before something happens, that becomes the key. But it's, what do you do when something happens? You know?
Who do we turn to?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Who do we call?
And I think that kind of goes back to the MSPs and the trusted advisors too, making sure that their clients understand that they do have those resources readily available. And they're absolutely able and willing, and they want to help in all the different areas of the business. So they can bring, companies like us to the table and introduce us, and we can go through those needs and wants very simply, very easily. And, education's free.
Exactly. And running the scenario, that's what I always say, run the scenario. And this can be something as little as, okay, so our internet's not working. What do we do? Who do we call? What do we need to check? And the number of times I literally was having a conversation with an MSP and trusted tech advisor the other day about the number of times that you get called on site for something. And I don't know how, I'm not, I wasn't there. Somehow like this gets unplugged, or somehow this gets moved around. I mean, and I know you've experienced that as well.
Yeah.
So.
Sure have. So
yes, no, definitely. I kind of want to flip a little because, obviously yourself, you've been around for a while. I mean, I like to say I've been around since dinosaurs roamed the earth, but
I was going to say, are you calling me old?
I was calling myself old. But I was going to say, for yourself as well, for me, like, what do you think is one of the most important things right now in the industry on how to build like strong relationships, how to build like a community within, let's say, the channel or within the tech space or within the MSP space right now?
I think ultimately it boils down to communication. I think personally, as somebody who's been on the partner side as well as the vendor side, I think that it's very important that you are reaching out to your clientele, whether it be your partner or be your direct client, and asking them how do you want me to connect with you, and how often do you want me to connect with you, right? Because so many times we're so busy, especially, first, second quarter, beginning of fiscal year, things of that nature, that we can't do a phone call every single week to really divulge what's going on, right? So perhaps it's better for me to send out a text message and just let them know I'm thinking about them, and, remind them that I'm here and available to them. But maybe the client doesn't want to be called or texted. Maybe they just want an email every month, or maybe they want a newsletter. But I think that that's really valuable, and it makes you stand out against some of the others that are out there that are just wanting so much business that they're eagerly overwhelming their partners or clients.
I love it when you talk about connecting with people, how they want to be connected with, because I'm a huge person. Like sometimes because I travel so much, I end up
Right.
in email jail. Well, it's a mix. I travel a lot and I am a self-proclaimed work in progress email hoarder. So, I'm constantly in and out of email jail. And so sometimes if you send me a text message, I can get back with you in like 2 or 3 minutes. If you send me an
Right.
email, it might not be till 8 p.m. at night when I've had a chance to clear everything out after my whole day. And so I really think when you talked about understanding how do they want to communicate, is it, a newsletter, or is it like a text message? I mean, obviously you want to stay in contact with people, but it's understanding what do they prefer.
I think it's a respect thing too. And when you respect your client or partner, then that begins not only a relationship, but it begins a relationship on trust. You're not treating each individual partner or client like the other. So that builds that relationship.
Absolutely. And I think it's important, obviously I'm not speaking from the partner side, but from like a client or a networking, I work with people, we work together, we collaborate, is checking in with them, even if per se we don't have something on the table, just saying, hey, how's everything going? Are you okay? And, kind of looking at them. And I will use the term holistic, like as a holistic view, like how's everything going? How's business, because I mean, it can be crazy sometimes.
Yeah. And sometimes it's nice to get that text or that phone call just to get a break in your day and hear a friendly voice, right? We're not always out there to sell. And that's, I think, a big thing is making sure and reminding ourselves that, it's not a sales tactic. It's more of a relationship. And, we need to, it's more about being that friendly person, that friendly go-to person, right? You don't want, I wouldn't want to ever be perceived as the pushy salesperson.
Yeah, we could use the term, but we won't, because I don't want to be disrespectful to, like, there are good car salesmen in this world, but we all get that vibe of like that,
right.
that like kind of slimy, vibe there.
Or the person at Sam's Club that's trying to push the direct TV or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. When you get accosted,
what reminder do you have?
Exactly. Yeah. So
I think we're more elevated than that.
Absolutely. I could not agree. Definitely elevated. Which leads me to one of the things for someone who is trying to break into, let's say, the channel, or break into the industry, or maybe just change lanes in what they're doing. What type of advice do you have for them as how to move forward?
I think from personal experience, don't be hesitant to start at the bottom, right? Some of us have gotten our breaks and we've been able to successfully break into the channel, maybe working for a vendor or maybe working in the sales position. But you have the ability to learn, and that's the biggest thing. Learn everything you can. Become a sponge. If you do get your break, or even if you don't, there are plenty of classes that are available on LinkedIn that several organizations offer for free. So finding what suits you, what type of space you really want to be in, I think is really key. And then just go for it.
No, absolutely. I am a huge proponent. I mean, obviously in tech, stuff changes, I would say every day, but we know like every quarter there's something new or there's something different coming out. And so
sure.
I would say the biggest thing is being a sponge, keeping up with your training, meeting. And one of the things I would say is huge is meeting all the different vendors, because, you may not per se have a client that needs that particular vendor right now, but, maybe in 6 months you do.
Right.
So,
right.
exactly.
Absolutely. And, these different trade shows that are available and offered, one very large one coming up very soon, actually next week. That is a great place to start too. Going in there, going to the MSP summit, going into the big floor, and just shaking hands and learning the different levels of technology, the different types of technology that are available, and just, saturating yourself in the different areas of it all.
Absolutely. And I would even say, if there is
build those relationships.
Yeah, if there's a particular supplier you haven't talked to in a while, first off, they may have changed. They may be offering something new and exciting. So don't ever just like push it to the side. I'm also a huge proponent of local events, local
Yeah.
networking, interacting with people is huge. So
Absolutely.
absolutely.
The local networks, the different
Mhm.
charters and chambers of commerce and things of that sort too, I think are really great. You can even go and talk to some of maybe the smaller IT companies that offer, different services to different companies in your area, mom and pop shops,
Mhm.
and perhaps, just be an understudy or, just get out there.
Yeah. Absolutely. Sometimes it's just about being in the right place at the right time. And the only way you're going to do that is by getting out there in real life.
Yep.
Well, Cheri, it has been an absolute pleasure having you here. So, obviously, I'm going to say if you are an MSP or somebody, and, obviously you start super quick with Excidium, reach out to Miss Cheri. And of course, they can find you on LinkedIn. But is there
Yes.
anywhere else that you recommend people look for you at?
I prefer everybody reach out to me on LinkedIn. I have all of my contact information listed there, but feel free to connect with me. I am really, really big into sharing my network. I have over 10,000 followers. So I love the ability to introduce people to other people. So, follow your Fairy TECHmother.
That's right. So you are definitely a wealth of knowledge. And I want to thank you again for coming on Tech and Tequila again. I think you're like a 3 or 4-peat at this point, but I'm excited.
It's
So
always
of
a
course,
pleasure.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. And of course, that's a wrap for this episode of Tech and Tequila. So from trying moment to diving deep into cybersecurity and everything about the fairy, tech godmother, Miss Cheri, today was packed with insights and innovation. So remember, whether it's tech, business, or even what's in your glass, the key to finding what works for you is stay curious, stay adventurous, and as always, salute. My ask, of course, is connect with us. So follow us on Instagram at Shelby Tech Solutions. Check us out at www.shelbyts.com. And of course, love this episode. Give us 5 stars, leave us a review. So wherever you listen to us, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Yes, I recently realized I had a bunch of those on private, but they're all now public. So check us out. And don't forget, add Miss Cheri on LinkedIn because you will love it. So thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Tech and Tequila. I hope you enjoyed our conversation today. To stay updated about all things tech and more, don't forget to visit us at our website, shelbyts.com. If you loved what you heard, remember to show your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our podcast. Your 5-star ratings and reviews mean the world to us and help us to reach more listeners just like you. So muchas gracias again for joining us with Tech and Tequila. Thank you so much. You learned a lot about tech and maybe you had a nice drink of tequila.